Many of you watching this probably fit into two categories. One, where you make loads of notes and you get that dopamine hit knowing that you made them all pretty, colourful and aesthetic. Or you pride yourself on having to do about 200 Anki flashcards every single day, no matter how much annoyance or stress it brings you. But what if I told you there was a simpler way? What if I told you there was a way where you could make studying extremely fun and not have to make any notes? Okay, maybe some notes. There are 3 levels to the system I'm about to show you, with the final one being how AI has completely transformed and gamified studying for me at medical school. But why should you believe me? Well, before I got into medical school, I actually had already completed a 3-year biochemistry degree from Warwick University. I went through so many studying techniques during this time, with making a bunch of flashcards being my main one. And only in my 3rd year of medical school now have I realized that that was such a complete waste of time. It had no extra benefit to me in the exams, and it was just not the most time efficient. And in all honesty, it made studying so laborious and annoying, no matter how much people tell you that it's the best way to study. I knew I had to switch it up. So the first level in this method, guys, is actually very short and simple. It's something that we all go through, and that's basically just get your resources together and just read and try and understand as best as you can. There's literally no pressure at this stage. You literally just have to take it in. You can take as long as you need. We all learn at different paces, so it's very simple, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so now we're moving on to level 2, and this is where the games begin. I've been trying out these new methods only recently, and it actually has made studying a lot more fun. I've been studying for so long now, and I actually miss out this step, and it's actually mind-boggling that I've never actually done this step properly. And it's basically you get a pen and paper or an iPad or whatever, something to write on, and you basically try and write down as much as you can remember. And at this point, you still haven't made any notes or flashcards. You're literally just still trying to understand and take it in and see how much you can remember. And I've actually never done this before because I go straight into making notes and flashcards and I just skip this step out. Another thing about this step is that it generally does feel like a game because you're literally just seeing how much you can write down on a piece of paper. And anything that you missed out, you go over it and you fill it in red. So you can see the bits that you missed out. And you basically save this. And the reason this feels like a game is because you're actually doing something. You're trying to see how much you can remember. And it's literally just you and the paper in front of you. And there's no hassle of doing anything else. In games, we want to always beat our high score, always trying to improve. No matter how well or how badly you've done, you start from 0 the next time you play the game. You still have to do as best as you can the next time you play it. And that's what this process does because you have nothing to fall back on. You have to just see how much you can remember the next time. The next day when you go back to study this topic, you're obviously not going to remember a lot. You're probably going to forget about more than 50%, but that's okay. This is what makes it feel like a game. You don't have that safety net of having your notes and your flashcards ready to review at a later date. You have that adrenaline to make sure that you're remembering this stuff because you're worried that you're going to forget it because you haven't made any notes. And that's what keeps the game interesting because you have that anxiety like, shit, I need to at least remember more than I did last time. Anything that you don't remember, you write in red. And because you've saved this document, you know how much you remembered on the first try. Something that I've started doing is writing down all the different subheadings of that particular subject and see what percentage of topics that you're getting right, and then you can record that. And when you see that percentage the next time you study, you get that drive to at least beat that score the next time you study. Another crucial thing to do in this level is discuss with people. Like, I've always underrated this, but research tells us that this is actually one of the most effective ways to study, and for some reason I don't know why I never really did this. Even in games, you like discussing strategies with people, you like talking about it. It's just a very nice feeling talking about the game with your friends. And that's what studying should be like. You should literally just talk about a topic and see how much you remember. Sometimes they will tell you stuff that you didn't know, and it's just a really collaborative process, and it's just so underrated. And to be honest, I wish I did more of this. You're basically delaying the note-taking, the laborious tasks as much as possible because you'd be surprised how much you can truly remember. Because you've delayed the note-taking process, you actually force yourself to come up with cool ways to remember stuff. Things that you would never even thought of if you just simply made a bunch of notes and flashcards. For example, in medicine, there's a thing called the pneumotaxis center. And I remember this guy, he told me, oh, the cool way to remember it is tax. So taxing, when you tax people, you inhibit them, and that's literally what it does. It inhibits the control of breathing. And I will never forget that moving forward. And that's literally what happens in games. You discuss cool ways of getting over obstacles with your friends or with people. You can really apply that to studying. So I know what you're probably thinking at this point. He's told us not to make notes, not to make flashcards, utilize active recall to the full extent. But how do we go about remembering this stuff long term? So this is where ChatGPT completely changed the game for me, because all throughout the years that I've been studying, I never really had ChatGPT. But recently, it's just completely streamlined the process that it actually doesn't even feel like I'm studying sometimes. Okay, so now I'm going to actually show you how I use ChatGPT to further gamify the process and help you remember stuff long term. So the first thing you do is you go back to the resources that you used in the first place to understand the information. So I was studying atrial fibrillation. It's one of the topics at medical school, and you basically just copy and paste all the information onto a Word document. As you can see, it's quite a long topic too. And you copy and paste all the information from all the websites. And once you've done this, obviously you can rearrange it and put stuff that are similar in the same place and just customize it as much as you want. But the real trick here is to put this into ChatGPT. So this is where a lot of people don't really see the full benefit of using ChatGPT, because they don't really use the right commands. So for instance, instead of just saying rephrase the following, you have to be really specific with ChatGPT, something which I learned as I went along. So instead of putting that, I put in, for the world's best online medical school revision notes resource, write me notes on atrial fibrillation in a logical, coherent, well-structured, easy to understand manner with appropriate subheadings based off the following text. Then you go ahead and copy and paste all the information. And as you can see, ChatGPT has basically written me some notes with subheadings, and these are essentially my notes now. And this generally feels like a game, because realistically, in a game, you don't really do anything other than press a few buttons and controls. Literally just copy and pasting and putting stuff into AI, and it's literally doing everything for you. But the thing is, it doesn't just stop here. You can literally ask ChatGPT now to make you flashcards and write you actual questions like the questions in your exam. For example, we know that the best way to learn is by testing yourself. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Again, you write very similar prompts. So in this case, you say, you are the world's leading medical school question bank. Write me single best answer questions using clinical case scenarios with 5 options each in a UK MLA style based off the following text. UK MLA being my exam. And it literally comes up with questions for me, literally in the same format. It's literally like a question bank. And I've started utilizing this recently, and it's just so effective, and it just makes it so much more entertaining and fun, because like generally, like, look how cool this is. I've never had this experience throughout all my years of studying. So this is so crazy to me that you can actually do this. You can literally make it do anything you want. For example, if you still want to make your flashcards, you can literally ask it to make flashcards. You can literally ask it to do anything you want. You can make mini quizzes out of this. So it literally, again, it's created a quiz for me, further enhancing that active recall method. Okay, so now you probably realize that you can literally gamify the whole process by also using ChatGPT. But just like a game, it goes from just having fun with your friends and just being a game to something a bit more serious. And sometimes it gets a little more competitive when you realize that you still have to make some notes and you still have to write down the things that you keep forgetting. And that's okay. You can still make flashcards on stuff that's just really hard to remember. For example, I still make a Google Sheet on stuff that's just basic and there's no real proper way of remembering it, because it's just either you know or you don't. And I still gamify the process by, adding colors in to see what I'm getting wrong. So red means obviously I need to go over it. And sometimes I write the answers in and sometimes I don't. And sometimes I also write down on my iPad things that are just so hard to remember. But the main takeaway from this video is that you don't have to make hundreds of flashcards, and you don't have to make all the notes. There are loads of different ways of studying. And to be honest, if you still feel comfortable by making notes and flashcards, by all means go for it. Because If it works for you, it works for you. And to be honest, it still works for me. You know, I'm still only here because I've used those methods. But because I've been in education so long now, I do like to just spice it up for my own entertainment. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope it was beneficial in some shape or form.